What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show tonight. Thanks for joining us right now. We are coming to you live from the beautiful mountains of Tennessee here in the Cumberland Plateau. And man, we've got a lot to share with you tonight. I know all of you guys have seen already our title slide. There's a whole lot of shaking going on. We ripped this title off of Jerry Lee Lewis, but it really describes what's going on right now all across the nation and really around the world. But in America, things have been shook up to the max. And so tonight, you better buckle your seatbelt. We're going to talk about some things for about 30 minutes tonight. We're not going to have a long program, but we are going to talk about some headlines, some things going on, and where Christians should fall on some of these issues. I want to invite you right now to make sure that you share the feed, whatever you do. We need you to share the feed, get as many people on here as possible. I also want to invite you to leave your comments, your questions, your opinions in the Super Chat. And for those of you who are supporting us through Super Chat, we really appreciate that. But we want to know what you think about all of these issues as well, and we'll be commenting on many of them as we go along through the program today. I also want to take opportunity and welcome all of our listeners via the podcast that's also listening around the world. Tonight, we're going to deal with some pretty crazy subjects that are going on. We're going to talk about Trump being raided. We're going to talk his home being raided. We're going to talk about the FBI tonight. I hope this don't get us shut down before we ever get started, but we're going to, again, we'll
leave the cameras on if anybody extra comes in.
Exactly. We're going to talk about the CDC. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but the CDC has recently come out and said that they botched the handling of COVID-19. Wow, that's a shocker.
Monkeypox also.
Monkeypox also. We're going to talk about school systems still trying to force face mask mandates and other things, as well as teaching all kinds of weird perversion in their curriculums as school is getting back in full swing. Russia is going wild. They're on a rampage and forging new alliances around the world, even developing new economy structures. All of this stuff is very important. And I don't know if you guys seen this today, but the news has reported today that there's over 50 plus warships from China that have surrounded Taiwan, and planes flying everywhere. Something looks like something's getting ready to break there. And then Noah, I know you've got some things that you've been talking about as well. So I got Noah here with me tonight.
Hey everybody, glad to be here. Glad to not have to make my introduction. I am not Shane Warren. So thanks for sticking with us while we were doing some little interesting other discussions. But yeah, we've got a lot going on. The CDC stuff is just amazing. The school thing you mentioned blows my mind. You got schools wanting to enforce something that the CDC is now saying don't do.
Exactly.
I mean, what's up with that?
And they're saying it didn't work. They're admitting it didn't work.
Yeah, they're admitting it didn't work, but then there's some people who still want to do it. So, very interesting discussion there of why they still want kids to do it.
Yeah. I know you've also been grabbing some other news headlines here and there of some crazy, weird stuff. But let's start off tonight talking about the FBI raid.
All right.
30 plus agents running into the former president's home.
Plainclothes, I heard.
Oh, so, they were in plainclothes.
Yeah, trying to blend in. So
really,
yeah,
I'm sure that's really going to work when you got cop cars sitting out front with lights flashing everywhere, and I'm sure I'd like to know what they found in Melania's closet.
I don't know, but the meme storm has been incredible with pictures of Biden and Fauci and Pelosi and everybody else in designer dresses. It's been the meme game has been very strong off of that.
So I'd like to know what your opinions are, those of you who are tuning in, about this FBI raid. It's unprecedented in the history of America. To be quite honest, it makes us look like a banana republic. Everybody I've talked to on the political scene, and I have reached out to some very important people, all of them say that this is not only unprecedented, but uncalled for, borderline unconstitutional. Today, even right before we came in to do the show, I was looking at the news headlines that a judge has now ordered that only part, at least a significantly redacted version of the affidavit, can be released. At the same time, Trump and his people is calling for total transparency of the affidavit that led to the warrant, it'd be interested to see, but it doesn't look like we're going to see that.
No, probably not. And to give a little context, if you don't know what the affidavit is in this process, I can't go to the judge and say, hey, can you give me a warrant to search Pastor Steve's house? No, it doesn't work that way. Some significant figure in law enforcement has to come and say, we have evidence that this crime has been committed. This is the evidence. Can we have a search warrant? And the judge decides. Now, never mind the fact that this particular judge was once Jeffrey Epstein's lawyer.
Big time Clinton supporter.
Big time Clinton supporter.
Big time Obama supporter.
Yeah. I mean, it's highly politicized from the ground up. But in addition to that,
big time Biden supporter.
Oh, of course. Yeah. But not releasing the affidavit means they're refusing to say what evidence they had or claim they had that warranted search and seizure.
Yeah. Well, and all of us know, and it's been well reported, that this looks more like a fishing expedition of trying to find information that they can use, because anything that they have acquired, they can use, even if they weren't going after a set specific thing. But let's talk about the judge for a moment. The judge, as Noah adequately expressed here, the judge formerly actually recused himself with an issue of Trump before.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, he did. He did formally recuse himself with an issue with Trump before, but this time did not recuse himself. Being a former supporter of the adversaries of Trump and being vocal on Facebook and other social media expressions, he should have legally recused himself. So there could be a major problem right there. You know,
do you know what the process is by which he became a federal judge again? Because he had stepped down. He was actually the one who was trying Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah.
And he stepped down, and then immediately after stepping down, formed a limited law corporation to represent some of Epstein's employees, including the woman that Epstein referred to as his sex slave. We'll just leave that there. And his office was actually, his registered address of his company was the address of Epstein's main lawyer.
Yeah.
So he literally was trying that case, stepped down, went to work for the defendant, for Jeffrey Epstein, when we all know what happened after that, and then at some point became a federal judge again, just in time to issue a search warrant against a former president's residence.
Well, definitely his character is in question at the very least. His competency as a judge, especially in this matter, is also within question. So there's a lot going on. And to compound the issue, ladies and gentlemen, just yesterday, I noticed that some sources started reporting, this is not widespread information, but sources started reporting that 14 FBI agents now have come forward willing to risk their careers and their futures, lay it all on the line, saying that there is corruption in the FBI and calling for transparency. So now there seems to be an uprising within the ranks of the FBI itself. Now we want to make sure that we're clear about this. This is no way us saying that we believe that all law enforcement or agents of the FBI or CIA or anything like that are corrupt in any way. We believe that the great majority of them are great men and women who are trying their best to uphold the rule of law, and we celebrate that and applaud that. However, it is obvious that there is something that is going on, and really this started becoming apparent with Comey and others in the early stages of Trump's presidency, especially over the Russia collusion hoax and all of the stuff.
Which is thoroughly discredited at this point.
Thoroughly discredited.
Overwhelmingly discredited.
Yeah, you would have to be a fool to even buy into that. But anyhow, so there's a whole lot going on here. And then today, them not willing to unseal that affidavit. Now, that doesn't shock me. It is not typical to unseal an affidavit like that, especially when the FBI is involved in an investigation. However, we're dealing with the former president of the United States, and we have made this a public spectacle. So America is on edge right now.
Yeah. And he's not just the former president of the United States. He is probably going to be one of the candidates in the upcoming election. in 2 years.
I would say it's beyond a probability. I mean, we're what, less than 2 years out, or close to being less than 2 years out.
He's done everything but announce.
Well, but nobody there. We've not even seen, other than Ron DeSantis. We don't even have a front runner in the Republican Party that's even come to the forefront. The Republican National Committee hasn't tapped anybody. They're not promoting anybody. And it seems that Trump is pretty much swinging the heaviest bat for sure. So I don't see another candidate on the horizon other than DeSantis.
If the swamp wants to keep the drain plug in so it doesn't get drained out, Liz Cheney's available.
I was getting ready to get to Liz Cheney. I mean, and to show you how foolish this is, let's go ahead and jump to Liz Cheney's deal. Liz Cheney is overwhelmingly, by a 2-to-1 margin, if I remember right, double digit loss in Wyoming.
That's significant. I mean, that's
crazy significant for an incumbent. And lost based on the fact of her stance against Trump and the January 6th Commission and all of the stuff that's going on there, them not feeling like they're getting adequate representation as the lone representative out of the state of Wyoming. And so here she is defeated. And the craziest thing is it looks like the Republicans aren't tapping her to run for president, but the Democratic National Committee is putting their hands on her and encouraging her to run for president. So it could be we're going to have a Republican candidate promoted by the Democratic Party to run for president. How crazy.
And that should tell you all you need to know about that candidate.
I'm telling you, folks, here's the deal. You can't make this up. This is beyond crazy.
Connor said she lost by 38 points.
38 points.
Incumbent candidate lost by 38 points.
And then comes online, has the audacity to come in her concession speech, I guess that's what you would call it, and compare herself to Abraham Lincoln. Why did she do that, Noah?
I believe because Abraham Lincoln lost a Senate reelection before running for president. And so she said, well, it's just like, with Lincoln. And but I did see a meme that she would compare herself to Lincoln because she lost by 420 points. So 407 points. Sorry, history. Pretty
much the long and short of the story here is these people are completely out of touch with the heartbeat of America right now, especially on the conservative side of things. You have a woman in Wyoming who is stepping up to the plate. And I like her, man. She talks hard and she talks tough and she talks real plain. And I think Americans want that. And they're tired of all of these political games that are going on. And I think Americans could actually, a lot of Americans who changed sides or didn't vote at all in the last election might now be regretting their choice.
Well, one thing that just hit me, it didn't just hit me, but it hit me again based on what you said. And that's that when Trump became president, or actually when he started campaigning, the media created this false idea of how elegant and regal a politician should be. And we haven't had any politicians like that in a long, long, long time. Mm-hmm. We've got Ronald Reagan cussing on tape. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's just not the reality of it. And so we've thought, oh, well, they're just not dignified. It's undignified. Well, if you look at the candidates who are winning in these primaries, it's the ones who are willing to come out and say what they see and actually call a spade and say what's really going on and talk about it. And that, to me, is very, very promising. It makes me very hopeful because it looks like it's really resonating with people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, I mean, I'm going to admit, I don't like the crazy rhetoric that sometimes we're hearing out of both sides of the aisle. That kind of politics is very polarizing. However, we might be in that state that we need some polarization so that we know where people stand on different things. Now, I know many of you are watching right now, and those of you listening around the world to the podcast, you're saying, oh my God, here's a pastor, and he's talking about politics, and Christians talking about politics, and they shouldn't be talking about politics or bringing politics into the pulpit.
When you got saved, you lost your right to have any influence on anything around you?
Exactly.
Do you clean your house as a saved person? Are you crazy? You don't have a right to have influence over that.
Exactly. And so I don't want you guys to go off your rockers yet. Just stick around because I'm going to lay out a theological thought for you in just a moment about why we as Christians better get very involved in the political specter in our nation, not only here in the midterms, but in the next election as well. And I think it's time for Christians to stop being silent on the issue, and that's the reason we're using this channel at this time on Thursday nights to discuss the issues and put smack down on stupid. All right, so the FBI attacks. Anything else you want to jump in on the FBI raid? Not attack, a raid.
I mean,
by
really
the way,
curious.
It's not a raid.
Oh, it's not?
I don't know what it is.
It wasn't a recession either.
It was, yeah, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So
so let's go.
a lot of things aren't what they are apparently.
It's not a woman either.
Yeah, it's not a woman. It's not a man. Yeah,
right.
Nothing is what it is here. Okay. No, I'm really curious to see if anything does come out, if any statements do come out from these FBI officers. Because they are taking a huge risk, and a lot of people in chat were saying that too. Yeah, that's an enormous risk because if you think politics is political, any kind of agency that large, if you want to be anything other than a grunt, that's very political.
Yeah.
And so you're taking a huge risk to speak against your bosses. But another thing about that, this has to play into the FBI and in the scenario there. It's just like, early on in the lockdowns, we had a discussion, not on this show, but we had a discussion about if an evil actor wanted to have a vaccine or something masquerading as a vaccine that would actually harm people, they didn't need everybody to be on board.
Right.
They just needed certain people at the right positions towards the top to promote it and lie about it. And they only have to be the only ones who know what's really going on.
Right.
And then everyone downstream, because you heard from physicians who were saying, no, this is not what I studied. I don't understand virology. I don't understand that. I listened to the people who studied it. So I'm like, okay, well, you just need those people to be in on it.
Yeah.
You don't need everyone to be involved in a conspiracy.
Yeah.
But the same thing, you don't need rank and file FBI officers. Nobody, it could have been every single person who went in there and seized evidence and did whatever they did, took boxes of golf balls or whatever, that they are Trump supporters for all we know. Probably not, but it's possible because you just need the right combination of people towards the top to be in on something to politicize the entire agency.
Exactly. And so anyway, very unprecedented thing. We're literally watching history unfold, guys, and I think we're all going to be shocked as things come out. Now, maybe there's something in there that we don't know about that's been hidden from all of us, but the way it's been going over the course of the last 6 years concerning Trump, with all of the other false allegations and things that they say about him, the pattern, I'm just going to throw this out here, Noah, and you can agree or disagree with this, but it seems the pattern when you study, Trump makes predictions, the predictions come to pass. Trump says this happened. The facts bear out for the most part that it happens. The media and the left and others, they claim things happen and there's no proof for it. Or we end up like the Russian dossier. We find out it's a complete hoax. That was drummed up by somebody with a political agenda.
Well, yeah, that would be specifically one of the candidates whose campaign paid for the Steele dossier to be written, that all that was based on.
Yeah. And I'm just waiting. I'm waiting with bated breath right now because at any moment the FBI is going to raid her place, right?
That has supposedly been
or maybe
happen.
Maybe I'm sorry, they're tied up right now because they're preparing to raid Hunter Biden's place, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure that's going to happen. Yeah, no. One thing that's interesting that I have heard.
I know what it was. They're stuck. Okay, they're busy. They're busy. They're still trying to figure out how to get the data off of the sledgehammered drive that was acid washed by Hillary Clinton with the thousands of emails. They're tied up on that.
Yeah, that's got to be what it is. Yeah.
Or
they're still busy with that.
Or maybe it could have been some of the Obama. We don't need to bring all that. So anyway,
they could be still working on Project Blue Book.
Project Blue Book.
Yeah, and looking for the UFOs. I mean, Congress said that was done, but maybe they're still working on it.
Oh my goodness, I'm having too much fun. This should not be this much fun. Tell us what some of the people are saying in the chat, Noah. I'm going to get ready to move to the CDC because this CDC thing, folks, has thrown me for a loop. I don't know if you've been noticing this, but they've come out and said that basically they're going to completely rework the entire organization because of the botched handling of the pandemic.
Oh, on top of that, the whole 6 foot thing, the social distancing, the entire concept of social distancing, the White House and the CDC are now saying not only is there no science behind it, they don't even know where it came from. They said, we don't even know whose idea this was. It's just, we don't know how this idea spread. And it's like, it spread because Deborah Bricks and Anthony Fauci were saying it over and over and over. And then
Fauci.
Yeah, and then the news took it up, and they were saying it over and over and over. And then all the big businesses got involved so that you had to stand on a little circle when you were waiting in line to buy something at Target.
Yeah, and everybody knows those masks. They have definitely saved lives, and now they're saying a lot of that was a total...
The most interesting thing to me in this has been I can't remember the gentleman's name, and I couldn't pronounce it right if I did, but the top genetic biologist in Israel published a paper in which he said that the reason monkeypox is spreading is because, and he linked to other papers, that it is proven that the lockdown related injections that everyone got weaken people's immune systems. And the response to that was not, oh my goodness, how could we have known this earlier? What can we do better so that we don't do something that makes the situation worse? The response was Twitter took his account down.
Yeah. Well, and along with the monkeypox, that's a whole nother deal, folks. I know that right now they're trying to scare you about monkeypox, but let me give you Noah's going to tell you a little example of what's happening in France, and you read between the lines because we won't enumerate it for you, but you read between the lines of exactly how these monkeypox happen.
So there was a case study in The Lancet, very prestigious medical journal, about a couple, a male homosexual couple in Paris, who have 2 adopted sons and 1 or 2 dogs. I forget the number of dogs. All of them had monkeypox. All of them, one of the symptoms, and correct me if I'm wrong if we have any medical professionals in the chat who know what the symptoms of monkeypox are, but all of them had sores and lesions around their booties, and including the dog. And
oh my God.
That was reported on in a prestigious medical journal with no mention of how exactly it was transmitted from the 2 adult males to the 2 adopted boys to the dog.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a whole lot going on there, CDC. Now, at the same time that the CDC is saying that this was all botched and should have been handled this way and all these things don't work and we don't know who came up with all of these ideas, now we have
Connor says trust the science that's not supported by the science.
Yeah, exactly. Now we have, along those same lines, still school systems right now trying to force mask mandates and parents, different parts of the United States, going to school board meetings, trying to fight for the rights of their children to fight against some of this craziness that's still going on in some parts of the country.
Some of the initial studies that are coming out are showing very marked speech development problems in the children who were masked at the age where they would be beginning to speak and speak with their peers a lot. So we have diminished the development of an entire generation over something that not only has the CDC said didn't do anything for us, and we knew, and we had doctors and nurses and researchers and studies being done and tests being done to prove that it was not doing anything in the first place. They pushed it anyway. They now say they shouldn't have pushed it. And then we have schools that are still pushing it when we know it doesn't work and it's harmful. Yeah. So why are schools pushing for something that we know is harmful?
Yeah. On the geopolitical front, again, I mentioned this earlier, Russia is on a rampage, and it looks like Russia is forming new alliances with different Arab nations and China and others, and developing new ways of buying and trading through something other than the dollar. So they're moving away from the dollar standard, which is going to hurt the American dollar even more. We've already are dealing with drastic inflation that's going to come even higher. And then something very troubling on the horizon is this thing with Taiwan seems to be ramping up with 50 plus ships surrounding Taiwan. I'm sure they're not there just to go on a cruise.
Oh, no, I'm sure they're just conducting drills and training exercises. No, the interesting thing about that is, if you don't understand the context, I'm sure you guys all do, but Taiwan produces nearly all the microchips in the world, nearly all. They're specialized in that. TSMC is a huge company that makes the chips in iPhones, iPads, Android phones. They make the chips in cars. They make all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Now, if this is nothing, right, and China's not looking to take Taiwan over and force a monopoly on that technology, then why did our government just spend billions of dollars to invest in chip manufacturing here?
Yeah.
Why would they do that if they didn't think that that's on the horizon?
Yeah.
So it seems like they're preparing for it right now, and the way that they prepare for it, which will, if it's this government, will be to enrich China more, but that's another topic.
The problem is it'll take a while to roll that out, and let's say there is something seized, then we'll be at the beckoning call of China to do anything that we want to do, whether it's build cars, computers, home appliances, so on and so forth.
Well, I mean, and just look at cars are still, the chip shortage is still going on, whatever anyone tells you. There are certain areas where technology has become more available. Video cards for desktop computers have actually gone down to like MSRP pricing.
Right.
For the first time. They were 3 and 4 times because they were so hard to get. But look at cars. Drive down any car lot in Cookeville, and the ones that have cars are mostly not the brand of the dealership.
Yeah.
They're used cars because they still are having problems. They're still shutting down production. And when they're shutting down production on F-150s and Mustangs, and GM shut down production on full-size trucks, when they shut that down, it's not because they can't get steel. It's not because they can't get tires. It's because they can't get microchips.
That's right. Are there any other things going on in the news that you want to bring up, Noah, before I get into my little rant here about Christianity and politics?
Did you see the goings on the border in Texas?
Oh, yes, I did. And I really felt sorry for the Border Patrol the agents that were having to do that standing right there in the shadow of the National Guard.
If you didn't see it, and apparently this transpired on private property, but on the border is a fence, and in this fence is a gate, and the owner had wanted it shut, and the Texas National Guard was called out and to secure the gate. They shut it and locked it. The Border Patrol came in, so now this is a federal agency, not a state one, and they cut the lock, I guess, or I got the key. I don't know how they opened it, but they unlocked the gate and opened it and let a bunch of people through. Across the border. So on private property, even. So like, I mean, there's a lot of laws that were broken there. But we've seen with this administration that laws don't matter. It's right. Rules for thee, not for me.
Yeah, exactly. It only matters for the agenda that they want to push. Again, I have some friends who are Border Patrol agents, and I can tell you that's not their heart. Somebody up the food chain was giving an order, and they were having to obey some orders there, but definitely not good for America. I mean, here we are telling children that we need to mask them to keep them from spreading a disease that is pretty much non-existent amongst us, or at least non-lethal amongst us, but yet we're letting in migrants who have no vaccination, not requiring any vaccination, anything like that, and we don't know what's being brought over to our country.
Yeah. Why the double standard? What's the real agenda behind it?
Yeah, what's the real agenda behind it? And anything else you want to throw in there?
What about, I saw a report, this was great, that the Biden administration and associated federal agencies, if you take all their spending and you narrow it down to specifically very progressive ideas and very progressive policies, they've spent $1.3 billion since President Biden was inaugurated on progressive policies.
Billion or trillion?
No, it's just billion.
Okay.
It's just billion. But if you break that down by the median income of the country and the tax rate of that median income, the tax rate for median income is 12% federal income tax. If you have withholding and you've never been self-employed and had to pay your own taxes, you may not know that federal income tax is only about a third of your taxes. The rest is Social Security and Medicare. But my point is that it's 12% is the tax bracket for the median income. They have spent 13% of the whole tax bracket for the median income of the United States.
Of the whole United States.
Yeah, they've spent $6,000 per person, which based on median income is 13%, which means not only have they spent all your taxes on progressive policies, they've spent some of your Social Security.
Yeah. Isn't that wonderful? Well, that ought to make you guys happy. And I know a lot of you guys are sitting there saying, well, okay, I hear you guys ranting about the different political things that are going on and all of that, but you're a preacher and you need to keep politics out of the pulpit. You need to quit using your influence as a preacher, as a, quote, man of the cloth, as a man of God or a woman of God. Keep politics out of the issue. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I don't think that we're at that place that we can do that anymore. And so that's the reason that we're doing this program. And I'm just going to rant here for a little bit. And Noah, you jump in, interrupt me in any of this. But I feel like what we've done is we've spent so much time talking about the hazards of speaking out that we've not realized the disasters of remaining silent. And ladies and gentlemen, as a Christian, we cannot remain silent on any of these issues anymore. Any of the political landscape, we have got to get active in the political landscape. And you might disagree with that, but listen, the nation is careening toward a division that is even more intense than what we see right now. I mean, there is something. I want you to be warned tonight. The middle ground is not going to disappear. It is disappearing before your very eyes in America. It may have disappeared. It may have disappeared. I've never seen division in America like we see right now.
No.
Now, I got to tell you, I've been honored to work with thousands of sincere men and women of God in pulpits around the country. In fact, next week I'll be in Alamosa, Colorado. Speaking. The week after that, I'll be at World Harvest Bible Church with Pastor Rod Parsley speaking up there. A couple weeks after that, I'll be in Houston, Texas, and then, oh my goodness, Amarillo, Texas, Kentucky. So I go all over the country, and I've had the wonderful honor of serving alongside some of the most sincere men and women of God in pulpits in America. But let me just tell you, sadly, there is also many other preachers who are hoodwinked by the devil himself. They think that they're doing the right thing by remaining silent on these burning issues that we just brought up right now and other issues. And it is deep in my heart to warn those preachers who are watching today, and if you know one of those preachers, I would pray that you would forward this YouTube video to them, because I want to warn those preachers about the disaster that is going to come to any preacher, any church, any family who refuses to stand against evil when the evil is so glaring and the price of disobedience is becoming so high. Now, I want you to hear me tonight. It is wrong to keep politics out of the pulpit. I'm going to say that again for the hard of hearing in the back of the room. It is wrong to keep politics out of the pulpit for one simple reason, that it is no longer about politics. Folks, this is about evil spreading around the globe. And so this isn't about politics anymore. This is about evil. And I believe, Noah, that there are really only two reasons that preachers don't take politics to the pulpit. In fact, I was in a ministry meeting with some of the most significant pastors in America, and I'll just say this, in the western part of the United States. I'll not say the state. I was there as the keynote speaker of this event to these preachers. And the pastor got up because there was something that was a political hot button that was going on at that time. The pastor, the head of this pastoral organization, got up and made this statement: guys, you cannot afford, and this is the words he used, he said, you cannot afford to lose your influence over a political issue. He made that statement to the pastors. I almost came up out of my chair.
What is your influence for as a pastor, if not to change the world?
Yeah.
And this is a thing, do you think that these policies that are being enacted and pushed down, and the hatred from the top of some federal agencies that's being pushed towards Christians, is not going to affect how effective we can be ministering the gospel?
Yeah, of course it's going to affect. I was so shocked. I could not believe what I was hearing. I didn't know what to do because I was supposed to be the keynote speaker. And I'll tell you what the issue was. It was over CRT, critical race theory, that was being taught in the school systems. And he was actually encouraging the pastors not to speak up and say anything. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is in one of the most diverse states of the entire union. Of all the United States, this is probably the most diverse state. So you can put two and two together and probably guess which one it is. And here we have a man saying, we know that there is a racial issue that is on the table. And the best thing for you to do, preacher, is to keep your mouth shut and stay away from it and don't speak any kind of truth to it at all. This is making me insane.
Have we gone from thinking that, and maybe people do, but thinking that people don't believe God and the Bible have any answers, to now making that policy and preachers just not even trying to give answers because they think people won't believe that it's real?
Well, I believe that there are basically two reasons that politics is kept out of the pulpit and preachers don't address it at all. Number one, preachers don't really believe that tyranny, and I'm talking about some, not all, but there's a great majority of them. Preachers don't believe that tyranny is about to destroy the nation. Wow. So they don't look at the news. They don't think about this issue of the FBI raiding Mar-a-Lago and what that plays into anything. They don't think about Liz Cheney making the statements that she's making. They don't think about CRT being taught in schools. They don't think about California passing a law that you can now have a baby and you can abort the baby. You can kill the baby 1 week after you've had the baby. The baby's out of the womb, and now you can kill that baby after 1 week. They don't see this tyranny as a threat to our freedom at all. And I think this is one of the reasons that they don't speak about it. And to be quite honest, they got their proverbial heads in the sand, and they need to get it out because it's not true. Now,
That's amazing.
Yeah, there's only a second reason that preachers aren't talking about politics from the pulpit, and I know I am making some preachers mad right now, especially all of you cessationists out there, and those of you who have went to seminary in the course of the last 10 years who have been taught against Christian nationalism. And that is a thing in our seminaries.
That's a powerful word right there. That means a lot of things to a lot of people.
Christian nationalism?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it. I know I'll be labeled as a racist and a homophobe.
I'm sure we already have, so I wouldn't worry about it.
But in our seminaries, they're being taught against Christian nationalism. When I went to school, we were taught to love America, love the nation of Israel, that they were two nations that were connected together. But now they're being taught not to love America, and that we as preachers don't have anything to say. But the problem is they don't even know their history, folks. They don't know about things like the Black Coat Regiment, who were instrumental in arousing an army to fight the Revolutionary War.
Yeah, very few people know about that.
We would not be free today had it not been preachers who made a stand. And I just tell you, I'm fired up right now. My blood pressure is going through the roof because I am tired of spineless, weak, millied-mouth preachers who won't address any of the issues of the time. Y'all can tell I've been gone a couple of weeks.
He's back, y'all.
I'm back. And so, again, preachers don't talk about this because, number one, they don't see tyranny affecting America at all. They don't think that it's destroying our freedom. But I'm going to tell you the second reason. You listen to me out there. The second reason that you preachers won't talk about politics and pertinent issues in the pulpit is that you're so controlled by fear that you're in denial about the tyranny.
Wow.
You're more afraid of the backlash that is coming your way because you stand against certain issues. Now, I just want to tell you, no matter what, the tyranny is here. And the Bible is clear about preaching in this season. It's clear about preaching in this season. And I wrote a couple of thoughts down and I want to share with you tonight. And this is, and again, I'm challenging everybody right now who is listening to me to forward this YouTube video to every preacher you know. I want you to forward this YouTube video to every preacher you know. And I don't even care if you tell them to scrub through the first several minutes of us talking about the issues of the time. And I want you to have them listen to me. And all of you preachers who are tuning in, I want you to understand that if you don't make a stand for some of these issues, and if you don't bring politics into the pulpit, and if you don't have anything to say about some of the major hard issues of our time, then there's some things getting ready to come your way. And I'm just warning you. I'm warning you as a prophet of God tonight. There's some things that are coming your way. Number one, there are going to be people in your congregation that are going to rise up against you because they don't believe that you care about them at all. You say, well, hold it, Pastor. I don't believe that's true. They've got to believe that I care about them. Well, let me tell you, many people in your congregation, depending on what state you're in, they're being fired for refusing the vaccine. They're being fired for simply becoming a Christian. I actually know of people who have lost their professions because they posted their water baptismal service on social media, and somebody at work saw it. Their children, I'm talking about people in your congregation, are suffering at school. They're being expelled for wearing Christian t-shirts, carrying Christian propaganda. They're being groomed by their teachers for sexual perversion. They're being labeled as racist oppressors by critical race theory. They're facing brutal things. The families in your church are facing brutal things every single day. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you don't address it, and if you don't rise up and equip your people how to deal with the issues of their day, and if you don't come alongside them and defend them in the war against their families, they're going to take their family, Pastor, and they're going to go find another church who will stand with them and stand for them in the midst of the battle. The sheep won't help. They want your help. Listen to me, the sheep need help. And the Apostle Paul in Acts chapter 20, verse number 20 said, I'm not going to keep anything back from the sheep that is helpful. I know you want to jump in, Noah, jump in.
I'm saying the sheep need a shepherd who carries a stick, and ideally one who's like David and carries a stick and a sling.
Yeah.
And knows how to fight for them and will protect them from harm that comes against them.
Well, no doubt somebody's going to be watching and saying, hold it, but this isn't love speech. No, my friend, being silent in the midst of disaster is hate speech. Being silent in the midst of tyranny is hate speech. Love speech is to warn the people to deal with the issues of the time.
Yeah, absolutely. If I see you walking towards a cliff and I say, hey, that's a cliff. If you walk off of that, you're going to fall and die. And you say, no, I won't. I'll be able to keep walking. For me to indulge your delusion that leads to your destruction is not love.
Exactly.
Love would be to correct you at that point.
I'm going to give you another reason that you better rise up and you better speak to the issues. This is reason number 2, because if you ignore your duty and your power as a preacher to speak against these issues of our time, then guess what? You're going to facilitate the persecution of the church of the Lord Jesus Christ in the days of come. So your ignoring of your duty and power to stop the persecution of the church is a sin.
Wow.
It's a sin. You say, I don't believe that. Well, all you got to do is read the Bible. I know it's a new concept that preachers would actually read the Bible and not necessarily take their notes off of a website somewhere.
It may be a new concept for people who've just gotten out of seminary.
Well, I mean, you might be right about that. You say, I need scripture for that. Well, Paul models this duty for you in Acts chapter 16. In verse number 37, it says, but Paul said to them, they have beaten us openly. They have uncondemned Romans and have thrown us into prison, and now they put us out secretly. No, indeed, they say, let them come themselves and get us out. And the officers told these words to the magistrate. Now, this is Acts 16. And they were afraid when they heard that they were Romans. So what did Paul do to protect himself? What did Paul do to protect the fledgling church of Philippi from a rogue government that was persecuting the people of God? What did Paul do? He claimed his right as a Roman citizen. So what I'm telling you, preacher, is if you don't stand up against the issues of this day, if you don't claim your right as an American citizen, if you don't get involved in the political process and let your voice be heard and teach your people to do the same, you're going to facilitate persecution that is coming on the church. And make no mistake about it, it is coming. Like a hurricane, it's coming. Like a train that's out of control, it's coming, and it's time for you to stand up against it.
Amen.
Yep.
Yeah.
You want to get in on? I'm sorry. I'm wound up, folks. I'm sorry. I'm wound up.
No, just if you think about it in the context, he was not doing that to protect himself. He was doing that to protect the church, just like you said.
Yeah.
And this is in this country, as a Roman citizen, Paul had the right to be tried before he was punished.
Yeah.
And he was not given that right, and partially because they didn't know. Well, he stood up for it. In America, we have the right to speak out on these issues if we can hold on to it. And whether we can hold on to the right to speak out on these issues and influence this country and have control over government, because they're supposed to work for us, not us for them. If we lose that right, it will be partially, at least a little, the responsibility of preachers and Christians who did not say anything.
It's going to be more than just a little responsibility. I want you to listen to me today. You listen, focus right here. I'm going to do what Jesse Duplantis, but you focus right here. I want you to hear what I'm telling you right now. Government will not allow you to remain neutral. There's no such thing as a government allowing you to remain neutral. And proof of this is in the Bible. Acts chapter 4, verse number 19. The Bible says, Peter and John answered and said to them, whether is it right in the sight of God to listen to you more than God? He said, no, you judge. He said, we cannot but speak the things which we have seen and heard. And Peter realized at that moment, ladies and gentlemen, that he had a choice. No choice, rather, but to resist the irrational ban on the gospel of Jesus Christ and the persecution that was happening in his time. He knew that if he left this issue unchallenged, unaddressed, that their
arrest you in front of your congregation if they can do it. Hey, we got a super chat too. Connor says in the super chat that a lot of these pastors don't speak up because they're worried that they'll lose people and they'll lose money.
Oh, it's so true. I mean, it's so true. They're afraid. And I'm going to tell you what they've done is they relegated the church to nickels and noses. But we got to come out of this, folks. We got to quit playing this game. We got to get off the fence here. We're kind of like Moses said, whoever's on the Lord's side, get over here. And I think one of the things we're seeing is the great division in our nation actually might be God showing us exactly where we are as a nation so that we have a window to recover.
I think we always have a window, but we don't always historically take advantage of it. And this is the one that we've got to take advantage of.
Yeah.
We have to step up. We have to speak the truth. We have to get in the Word as Christians. I'm hoping that I can trust every preacher listening to be in the Word and understand what the Word says. But we have to speak out at this point. We don't have the luxury anymore. We are at a point where if we do not do something, if we do not take a stand, we will lose too much.
Yeah. I mean, it's so true. And I'm just going to tell you that, one of the things you need to realize is that God has a replacement for you. And I want you to hear me, and this is the last thing I'm going to talk about. There's so much I could say to you tonight. I've got a lot of notes that I've prepared for this moment. Over the course of the last several weeks, I've just been so burdened about this that it's time for us to step up and do what we need to do. And anyway, let me just share the last little notes that I want to share with you tonight. One more last little thing here, and that is that God will seek a replacement. And folks, I want you to hear me tonight. God will seek a replacement because you're not only disappointing your people, you're grieving the heart of God by not standing up on the issues. Listen to me, preacher. Listen to me, preacher. Listen to me, school teacher. Listen to me, politician. You are grieving the heart of God if you do not stand up on the issue. Mordecai knew this more than anything. Mordecai actually delivered this warning of replacement. In Esther chapter 4, he said, if you remain completely silent at the time, he said, relief and deliverance will arise from Jews in another place. I want you to hear what I'm saying. In other words, preacher, I want you to listen to me. This is exactly what God is about to do in the body of Christ. A line is being drawn in the sand. We're finding out who's on the Lord's side. And here's what's going to happen. And I'm sorry, I'm getting all wound up again. I'm wanting to come through and grab some of you and just,
come on, man,
just shake you. I want you to hear me right now. I want you to hear me that if you don't rise up and do the job, make no mistake about it, God has a replacement for you.
Wow.
But then he come along and told Esther, but who knows that God did not bring you for the kingdom for such a time as this? Every preacher under the sound of my voice, every politician, every teacher, every lawyer, every business owner, you have been brought to the kingdom of God for such a time as this. It is your time, your responsibility to stand up against the evil of our time. This ain't about politics anymore. This is about evil. And, man, I wrote something that's going to make everybody mad, but I'm going to close with it. And that is this, preachers. You need to be more concerned about your people's soul than their membership.
Wow.
You need to be more concerned about your preachers' souls than their membership. Because there is a heaven to gain and a hell to shun. And it's time for us to talk about the truth. Well, we're out of time.
Yep.
Can you believe it? I can't believe it. We're out of time. I love you guys. Now listen, I need you to do a couple things for me before we go off the air tonight. I need you to do a couple things for me. Number one, I need you to subscribe to the channel. If you're not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe right now. Hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and that'll help us and also help you. Next week, next week we won't have a program, but the week after that we will have a program. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about this again some more. So I'm going to have a whole nother week to get ammunition. So y'all better be ready because I'm mad.
It's going to be fire, y'all.
I'm just mad. I'm wholly righteously indignant about what's going on in the nation. And I'm ready for a change. And I'm tired of us talking about needing a change. And I'm ready for myself and you and others to rise up and be the change, right? Instead of a time for a change, maybe we need to make the next presidential slogan, be the change, right? So subscribe. The other thing is I want to thank all of you guys for Super Chat. Those gifts that you gave in Super Chat, it means so much. We could not do it without you. There is equipment that we're wanting to buy. I priced some equipment today. There's things we always want to do. We can't do it without you. I want to encourage you, if you have not partnered with me yet, I'm taking this message that you just heard tonight all around America right now. I'm preaching it to preachers. I'm telling them they don't have an option. They need to stand up. They need to speak up. They need to show up. And if you appreciate that, would you pray about partnering with me and praying about partnering with Shane Warren Ministries? You can do that by simply texting SWM to 73256. That's again, text SWM to 73256 for those that are maybe listening via the podcast. And be a giver. Help us do the work of the Lord. None of this, the gospel is free, but getting it out is not very free at all. I can just tell you that. And we need your cheer. So please partner with us to help us get the gospel out. I want you guys to know I love you. I hope you appreciate the content that we're bringing here, the time that we're taking and investing so that we can say some things and communicate some things to you. So here's what I need you to do right now. Right now, I dare you, I double dog dare you to share this feed with every preacher, every businessman, every Christian that you know right now. Get on your social media, share the feed and say, you have got to watch this program and listen to this show. I love you guys. Thanks so much for joining me. We'll see you in another week or two.